Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Laura. Um, I know I haven't been on much due to a lot of health issues that's been going on, and the weather is ridiculous. It says it's 18 degrees out with a wind chill of 8. Trust me, it's cold. Um, and things are frozen, and I'm sitting here and I've been wanting to do this for a while, but things have not worked out where I wanted to get this started. So let me tell you what you're going to see from here on out from my channel, because between my health and everything and silly weather, it seems like every time I want to go do something and I have time to do it, or I have extra gas and I want to go do something, the weather doesn't agree with me. So that's where I'm at. And I will say a couple of weeks ago, I had a heart attack. So I need to get myself back up to where I can go out and do things again. Grocery shopping just takes everything out of me. So what you're going to see is some podcast style things for a little bit. I do need to get this channel back up and going. I'm hoping to get some more paranormal stories going. If you have something you want to share, there will be an email down below, just in your title. If you want to share some stories and stuff with me, put it in the title of your email, what it's for, and what it's about, so that like say paranormal, whatever, and I'll read it, and I'll put a bunch together and I'll read them on the video. So if you don't want your name said, your first name, let me know that you want to keep it anonymous or change it or something. Okay? So just know that. So everyone, welcome to my channel. Again, I know normally y'all don't see me doing that, and then with 2024, I realized I need to switch up things on my channel so that I can keep it going and things. And anyways, so this is going to be the first time I'm doing this, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I don't get dinged for this. You won't see pictures because I don't want to get dinged for that either. Even though what I'm talking about today happened like 100 years ago, and some of the articles and things that I should be able to use are over 100 years old, they should be free to use, but people have claimed them, and I'm not sure how they can do that, but they have, so we won't do that. So, when you're bored and you have nothing to do, you scroll Facebook, the internet, and things, and something caught my eye that kind of was like, what? And I went down that rabbit hole, guys. How many of you done that? I'm sure a lot of you have. And, and I really didn't see a whole lot on YouTube either. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So what caught my eye and what stopped me was a picture of an ad, believe it or not. And yes, I have my notebook, so you're going to see me flipping pages because I'm not going to do this from memory. And I don't have a tablet, so. And that ad led me down the rabbit hole, and I had to know more. And for the next like 2, 3, 4 days, I searched and looked and gathered as much info as I could, and then I did all my notes and wrote out what I have here. So to be transparent, I'm not going to claim that everything I say is the truth because we don't know. It is the internet, and the internet is what it is. And I have my own opinions, and I will let you know if it's my opinion or if I'm sharing my opinion or if I'm quoting from an article. A lot of my stuff has come from newspapers.com and from screenshots and stuff that was taken straight from the Kansas City Star. So I'm talking about something that happened fairly local. So what piqued my curiosity? It was an ad from the Kansas City Star, volume 27, issue 56, page 10. And it was from Monday, November 12th, 1906. So this was 119 years ago. The ad reads, and I quote, "For adoption, find healthy boys, 4 weeks old, 4 weeks old, pretty and intelligent, strong, healthy, cultured, period. Cultured and educated parents, anyone would be proud of this child in their home. Good references required. The Willows, home phone," and it listed the number from back in the day. Okay, so this is what caught my eye. It was an ad for a baby for adoption. What is the Willows? So I wanted to know, why are they advertising the adoption of a 4-week-old baby? And the rabbit hole opened up and down I went. I had to know more. Upon searching the Willows adoption Kansas City, a ton of things came up. Most blaringly was the very first thing was a calendar from 1943 with an ad for the Willows on the top, the Willows Maternity Sanatarium, with the nursing school with the address and established in 1905. Adorned with cute babies, one on each side, a boy and a girl, I'm sure. I also found a page that states for 17 years the Willows Maternity Sanitarium has cared for unmarried women, offering them seclusion and protection during gestation with high-grade medical and nursing services during and following accouchement during their pregnancy. The Willows Nursery, or under adoption, it states the Willows Nursery has such attractive babies for adoption. Now listen, because it gets kind of contradictory, in my opinion. The Willows Nursery has such attractive babies for adoption that it has a heavy list of prospective parents waiting all the time, communication with foster parents before adoption, investigation of their homes and detailed family history of babies available to interested people, resulting in exceptional grade of placements by the home finding department. Now, my first thought was, of course, what was the need of foster parents if there is a long list of waiting parents, which, they should have been pre-screening them if they had a long list of waiting parents. And why would they have babies waiting to be adopted if they had those waiting parents? Okay. A little bit of contradiction there. If they had so many babies and so many parents, why weren't they being adopted? Why were they waiting? Why were parents waiting? Why were babies waiting? It doesn't make sense. Now, many of us have heard about the tragedies that comes many times at homes like these for unwed mothers, one of the most being well-known case of the Ideal Maternity Home in Nova Scotia, Canada, which ran from 1928 through 1947 by William Young and his wife, Lila. He was a chiropractor and an unordained minister, she a midwife, who advertised herself as an obstetrician. It was also known as the Butterbox babies. I won't go into the detail of this side of the stories here, but it was horrific. It was really terrible. Many, many people have covered this case. You can look on YouTube, and you'll find several people have covered it. As many of these self-proclaimed maternity homes are, they can be really, really horrific. I can do another story another time on the Butterbox babies, but like I said, it's been covered multiple times. But the ones in Kansas City, Missouri, for the most part, seem to be on the up and up, with the exception of maybe a couple. Kansas City became to be known as the adoption hub of the United States. And several homes for unwed mothers popped up rapidly across the city over a couple of decades, the most prominent being the Willows. The Willows opened in 1905 and closed in 1969, citing the lack of need of homes for unwed mothers, as it was increasingly more acceptable to be unwed and having a child. But I know for a fact that there are still many homes where you can send your pregnant child off to like a finishing school to have their baby, and then the baby gets adopted. Whoops, sorry about that. And there's one not too far from here. I think there's still one in Kansas City. There's several, and I know someone that, got sent away because the mother was ashamed that her daughter was pregnant. It was not me. So, anyways. And it's all kept hush-hush, people are ashamed still to this day. Anyways, because I don't want a lot of flack from people, a little background, so no one can say that I have no right to speak on such a subject and say anything about this. My parents were married in November 1958 because my mother became pregnant. And my oldest brother was born in March of 1959, so he's about to be like 66 or something like that, 67, I don't know, 59, yeah, 60, I don't know. Whatever, y'all can figure it out. I was a teen pregnant unmarried mother. My parents left, went to Florida, didn't tell me they were going. I was visiting my significant other at the time, waiting for them to pick me up, and they never came back to get me, to take me home. And I had no place to go. I was stuck with him, and he was abusive, and I was hoping to get out of the relationship, and I was thinking I was going to go to Florida, and that was going to help me break the cycle. Didn't happen, guys. Allegedly, don't come for me. And I really felt abandoned by my parents at that time. And because I felt, even in 1985, I felt like I had no other choice. So when my son was a month old, I ended up marrying him. My youngest daughter was also a teen unmarried mom. She had her daughter when she was just shy of her 17th birthday. I helped her raise her for a little while, and then her and her sister and I and everything. And then, the dad kept going to school, being a teenager, went to college, got to go to dances, doing all the teenage stuff. And she got her GED and raised a little girl who had Asperger's and everything. So, she dealt with that, and he got to have fun. So I do know all about being an unwed mother and raising a child. So let's talk about the Willows Maternity Sanitarium and why women came to Kansas City. Even though the Willows was established in 1905 by Mr. and Mrs. Edwin Haworth, it was known far and wide because of everything that it offered. It offered private care, privately owned, no outside financial help, which meant there were no other fingers in the pot. Patients paid their own way at the Willows. They would arrive at Kansas City at the train depot, were picked up in large cars and taken to the home. But not any woman was accepted. They were very strict. They had to be recommended by prominent doctors throughout the U.S. And also, not just anyone could adopt the babies. Some upstanding and well-known entertainers were turned away. They had to have recommendations from their cities, from the banks, from doctors, from prominent people. They just weren't adopted by anyone. Once they were there, the women lived a life of total seclusion. They never left the building. They were never outside. They never reacted with anyone. Their family members did not know where they were, except for maybe the parents who shipped them off. Other family members were told, oh, they went to help someone out in, some other city or state that was ill, that kind of thing. They made friends with other women, mothers-to-be, and gave birth in their maternity area. Then they returned home, like the next day. As soon as they were well enough, they were gone. And I did read an article where a woman said that when other mothers were left, she was watching, and she also was treated very poorly when she left. Children were throwing rocks at them because they weren't treated as nicely when they were brought in as when they were taken out. It was like, you're here, you paid paid to be here. We have your baby. Get your butt out. We don't want you anymore. We have what we wanted. That's pretty much how they were treated. The story that they returned home, maintaining the story that they left to take care of ill or injured family members. So it was kept hush-hush that they had a child. The Willows was able to hold 25 to 30 residents at a time. It was considered to be the Ritz or the Waldorf of maternity hospitals, serving only upper-class clientele. They not only offered care for the pregnant mothers, care and adoption services of the babies, but taught nursing students. A 15-month training course specializing in I can't say it. You know the word. And infant care. The Willows closed in 1969 and was stated that they had estimated 35,000 babies. Figure the numbers. That were provided for adoption by the Willows in its 65 years of operations. Okay. 35,000 divided by 60. That is 15,000. Okay, let's figure that. 65 years, 35 babies. Get my calculator. 65 years. Oh, let's go 35,000 babies. I did that wrong. 35,000 babies. Oops, I almost dropped my phone. 35,000 babies. I don't know if you can see that. My phone's being stupid. Divided by 65 is 538 babies a year. Let's divide that by 12. That's 44 babies a month. 44 babies a month. That's a lot of babies a month. 44 babies a month? That's a lot. And towards the end, there wasn't that many in there. They were like slowing down the last like 4 or 5 years. 44 babies a month. 44 babies a month. That's like a small hospital. That's 44 babies. How many years? Did I say how many rooms? The Willows was able to hold 25 to 30 residents, but they're having 44 babies a month. I think there's a little bit of overcrowding there. Okay, let's go on. But that's not where the story ends. These babies have grown up and they are wondering, who are my parents? And many records are sealed. okay? And many times these women entered the Willows and other maternity homes under assumed names. So not only did they come there ashamed because they're pregnant, they come there without using their own names. So on the birth certificates is a fake name of the mother, not even a real name. So let's talk about the aspect of the records were burned, okay? So there is a rumor out there that records were burned. Although there are no real records to prove or disprove, allegedly patient records that would connect all the dots were originally offered to Jackson County Court, but the court refused to accept them. Then the records were taken to the Federal Reserve, where they were destroyed, which I'm unsure, but either of these places, were they the correct place for these records to go in the first place? I don't think so. Medical records, I don't think should have gone either one of these places. I'm not an expert. I'm just asking. Other rumors are that the records from the Willows were piled up in the backyard and just burnt. I never did find proof either way, so both of these are alleged, and remember, the records are separate from the birth certificates, okay? So we're talking the records that the Willows kept of, just the people coming and going, the women, who they were when they came in, what name they used after they came in, the money collected, who contacted who, what doctor. All that is separate from the birth records, the birth certificates. So now let's talk about some of the ads. A 1917 ad in September in Kansas City Star, which all of these will be from. This is an ad ran. It said 10 babies for adoption. There are 10 baby boys and girls ranging from the age of 2 months to 7 years at the Lifeline mission, looking for real mamas and real papas and a home of happiness and cheer. There are 5 boys and 5 girls, all healthy. All healthy. That was the ad. And of course, you had to, there would be there was like a number. On 1/19/19 for adoption, brown-eyed baby boy, 5-week-old infant. The 5-week-old Infant Hotel, which is also known as the Vale Hospital, or it later on became the Vale Hospital. On July 3rd, 1915, for adoption, 6 healthy, bright babies, ranging in age up to 5 months, right for anti-race, which I'll talk to you in a second. And I put S with a star, album, and information concerning these babies, the Willows. I find the wording on this ad very disturbing about the album. And now I can't look back at my phone and I couldn't find the ad. I had deleted some things, and I think that was one of them. So they're looking for anti-race things. And what I'm assuming is because they only accepted white women in the Willows, is these women came in and they had biracial babies, and the babies came out looking African American, not white. So these babies wanted anti-racial people to accept them in their home. And that's what I'm assuming that these babies are. So let's talk about the ad at Fairmont Maternity Home. Has for adoption 2 beautiful baby girls, 2 baby boys, and gives their info. Mount Washington Maternity Home has for adoption 5 bright baby girls and 4 baby boys, giving its info also. Let's talk now about another much needed home. We all know that these times you did not find white and what they considered back then colored in the same home. They were segregated. So this is where the Florence home for colored girls is exactly how it was worded, guys. I'm using what their wording was in their ads. This is called the Florence home for colored girls, and it came in, opened in 1925, founded by Elizabeth Krogman, and it began with about 4 bedrooms housing several unwed mothers and children, which later turned into much larger than they expected need. They soon expanded when they outgrew their space, and a new 4-story home was opened in 1930, including a hospital, nursery, and also taught the mothers classes in cooking, sewing, etc. By 1940s, the home began to offer counseling, education, and shelter for up to 30 mothers and children. Some mothers could pay their way, but for those who couldn't, government services stepped in to help. In 1958, the home was renamed the Florence Home, and in the 1970s, the Florence Home merged with Florence Creighton Home, which served only white mothers and became a racially integrated facility. I may have rewrote that, but they served both. So hold on a second. Okay, so I'm going to mention the Fairmount Maternity Home, founded in 1930, which changed its hands a couple times. But the newspapers.com, it was quoted in a letter that the cost of adopting a child from them, the cost was $42.50. I didn't find when the Fairmount closed and changed its name to St. Anthony's Home for Infants, but I do know that they were closed in 1986 and opened as Welcome House KC, which closed in 2023 and was demolished in 2023-2024. Now, if they were charging $42.50 for their adoption, I can only imagine what the Willows was charging. I know I could not find what the Willows charged for the mothers to be there every month. I can imagine it was quite costly. Let's talk about the Vale Maternity Hospital, which opened in 1923 and was also known as the Infant Hotel, which really, that name alone gave me the heebie-jeebies. In 1920, well, I wrote 25, then wrote 26. It closed and reopened in 1926 under new management as Missouri Maternity Hospital. I couldn't find much information on these, but they did exist. And those were Eastside Maternity Home, Mount Washington Maternity Home, Conley Maternity Hospital, and St. Vincent's Maternity Home. If you want to do research, feel free to do so. You can get better results depending on your settings and where you're from. I know the closer you are to a location, the harder it is to find research on things. And if I search on one phone, I get one result. If I search on my other phone, I get another result. If I search on my laptop, I get different results. So it's all about settings and your device. So let's talk about the sad and dark side of the history of Kansas City Adoption Hub. When greed takes over and all people see is money, they allegedly, in my opinion, don't come for me, but they don't care about the children, really. The next 2 places we are going to talk about, one is a maternity home, the other is a home for infants and children, but the same the same era, and I wanted to include them as they are in the Kansas City area. So there's a trigger warning here, guys. So if you don't want to hear about these things, now's the time probably to click off. So let's talk about an article I found from the Kansas City Star dated Monday, December 1st, 1924. Titled Ill-Fed Babies in the Attic. And I will be quoting the article, then give my opinion. So, quote, ill-fed babies transferred from Fairland home. 3 children found at maternity institution are taken to the General Hospital, buttermilk their food. And I'm going to read the article from my phone because it is very lengthy. So bear with me on this. Let me pull up the... I did a screenshot so I wouldn't lose it. So I have to go into my photos and pull it up. Where did you just go? Why you're not letting me see it? Maybe that's what's going on. Why does it not let me have it? Alright, now I've added this to my phone a couple of times and I've been like, where did it go? Guess what? It's there, and when I click on it, it's disappeared. So I'm just going to go to my messages and read it from there. Okay, of 13 babies removed from the Fairland maternity home of Mount Washington, which is part of, it belongs to the Mount Washington thing, but it's in Kansas City. There are in the general hospital because of undernourishment, and the other 10 are in Evans Children's Home in Woodland Avenue. All are underweight. In a letter to L.A. Halbert, Executive Secretary, Council Social Agencies, it was stated that Mrs. Eva Hadley, who conducts the Fairland home, that she was unable to attend successfully to the adoption of the infants. Instructions then were given by the State Board of Charities. The babies should be taken to the Evans home, where when Mrs. Mary Weaver, superintendent of the Evans home, Mrs. Addie Sorter, head of the Girls Advisory Bureau of the Council of Social Agencies, and Dr. Thomas Draney, medical advisor to the Evans home, arrived at the home. They found the babies in the attic. The attic was heated by a coal stove, muslin strip at the top of the windows was ventilation. The visitors asked Miss Hadley what she had been feeding the babies. Buttermilk was her reply. Dr. Draney said buttermilk did not have the nutritive qualities of sweet milk. The buttermilk sometimes is prescribed in cases of intestinal disorders. At the hospital and the children's home, the infants were weighed, and they were found to be very underweight compared to where they should be. The 3 girls and 7 boys at the Evans home were all under 6 months of age, and their average about 5 pounds underweight. That's significant. Last summer, Miss Mary Alexander, head of the Children's Bureau of the Board, held up granting the license to the Fairfield home. A joint committee of the Jackson County Medical Society and the Council of Social Agencies went out to the place. They found Mrs. Hadley was keeping the babies in a barn near the home. They had whooping cough. She explained she had put them there for isolation. The committee ordered the sick babies taken to the general hospital for treatment. Mrs. Hadley promised To improve her place, and the operating license was renewed. The mothers are charged a fee. And that's the end of the article. I don't know why it keeps disappearing off my phone. That must be something Google's doing. So now let's talk about that. The home of Julia A. Baker and her children. This is another one that just infuriated me. So when I read this, just the name of it kind of made me picture a workhouse, kind of like in the movie Annie. So when I took a screenshot of it, I kind of goofed and cut off the top of it. So the article was written by Mrs. Sam Ray, and the home was not a maternity ward, but rather she took in children of worthy widows. And these women would send money each week for their children's care, and that money was supposed to go into separate savings accounts for that use. On the property, there was a large barn in the rear, much like the Fairland home, and that was used, quote, as a clubhouse, and at night the girls slept on the first floor and the boys on the second. The postcard, if I can't, I don't even want to put it in here, but if you search it, you'll see the postcard, and all the children, little bitty to older children, so reminiscent of like the movie Annie. That's how I found it anyways. It seemed beautiful, big, large house, happy children, lots of happy children, lots and lots of happy children, and some very prominent looking ladies. A probation officer had made charges in 1915, Dr. Matthias, that the children were not attending school because of treatment of those in charge. The judge at that time, Judge Porterfield, known for his work with children, conducted an investigation of the home, and if you look it up in Kansas City Star Archives, you can follow the details of the whole case. The newspaper covered the entire case. The Baker home was originally banned from the state of Wisconsin, and there was a Baker home in Joplin, Missouri that had also been forced to close for the same reasons. Neighbors witnessed that the children at the Kansas City home were often seen eating from garbage cans and were underfed. In the postcard, there is a large banner that says Mother's Appeal, which advertised the magazine published by the Baker Corporation, which Mrs. Baker, was the president, of course. And you know who was doing the dirty work? Of course, the children of the Baker house had to go out on the streets and sell those magazines. Some of the children begged to get food because they were starving, allegedly. Don't come for me. But of course, her friends were going to say that she was being wrongfully accused and the children were properly being cared for and fed and all that. On December 24th, one day before Christmas in 1915, Judge Porterfield ordered that the Baker house had to be closed, and ending, hopefully, the horrible treatment that of the 65 children, 65, that were in her care. Although nowhere could I find where the children went. I'm assuming that they were sent back to their mothers, who should have been taking care of their children. If they could afford to send their children away to be cared for at the hands of this woman, they should have been taking care of their children at home. My opinion. I'm just assuming they could afford to make this lady take care of their children, send her money every week. Why were they not at home? I'm unknowing. There's not much more about it. So, my ending thoughts. Were these homes needed? Yes. Were there a lot of tragedies? Yes. The Willows having 44 babies a month. That's a lot of babies. And the Willows wasn't the only one. So Kansas City's kind of like in the center, kind of sort of area of the United States. And Kansas City was one of the most prominent cities at the time in the Midwest. And a lot of things were coming to Kansas City. Everything was like Kansas City. Kansas City was very popular in the early 1900s, bringing a lot of wealth to this area. A lot of prominent people were coming to this area. And it would just seem to be a place where, yeah, they would have an influx of people sending their daughters this way that had their wild ways and had things that they shouldn't have been doing according to their parents. And, you know, that's how they took care of things back in the day. But, so we have, and we still have people doing this these days. You wouldn't think there would be. There are still parents who send their children, young daughters away. And so then there's homes where the parents don't want their children. And there's another home that I did not cover. It was a home for boys. It was a workhouse, and it was to help keep the boys off the streets, and it did not end well either. So there's a lot. If you want more information, just look it up yourself. There is more. There's a prominent woman who married, and she didn't really adopt the baby. She kind of sort of, I guess, stole the baby, and then she had to give it back. They took her to court and made her give the baby back. Because she was falsifying all the information, and she was forced to give it back. And so anyways, there's a lot more that I did not put in this video. I hope you have a chance to look up the information yourself. That was only a drop in the bucket. This video would be like at least 2 hours long if I included everything. Yeah, I was shocked. I mean, we all know that these places existed. There were a lot of good places. I only found a couple of bad in Kansas City. I'm sure there was a lot more that did not show up in the news. That kind of went under the radar, that were kept hush-hush. There was some information that I could not put on here that they talked about that I'm trying to keep out because, you know, YouTube. So, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. Again, if you want to send me some unusual or paranormal or even, you know, any kind of story at all that you want to share with me that's unusual or something paranormal, emails down below. I appreciate you all in supporting this channel. I have my jewelry channel, Rustic Dragonfly Designs, and yeah, next week, after, you know, today is Monday, going into next week, it's going to be in the 60s. What the world? You know, starting like next Tuesday, so a week from tomorrow, is supposed to be like creeping up into really nice. Well, actually, it's supposed to start Saturday, getting up into the 40s, like 49, and then getting up into 60 by next Friday. And I'm like, what? So our temperature is going to be fluctuating. I can't wait to get out. I have to, you know, get myself back. So everybody, thank you again. Love you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's comments down below. Keep them kind. Keep them civil. And if you're not, I will just delete it and I don't care. It's my channel, my rules. Love you guys. Bye, everybody.